Give me the intro, man.
Start. Forget about your intro. Just fuck the intros. Fuck everything.
Surviving the digital jungle is tough. We're here to guide you through it on the Digital Jungle Podcast.
So let's say you draw that image and you're 23 years old.
23, yeah.
Yeah? You draw this image. When did that bubble bust?
Very early on. I
Like
felt
when-
maybe it's first 6 months, I would say.
Okay, it busted. But did you think that image is still attainable 10 years down the track? Or is that image just totally wrong?
No, I think that as the bigger you get and with the right people, things flow so much better. Everyone knows their role and the business continues to move along.
Yep. But that image of you sitting back,
Yeah.
chilling,
Yeah.
while your work is...
No,
is
no.
that it? Is it true?
I don't think... I feel like if I was to go away, their business can still survive and it can run by itself now. Yes, 100%, right?
Yep.
But I don't think... people say, I find it so hard to switch off.
Yep.
Like legit, I put things in place for myself. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I try to be present as much as I can. And I feel like I'm getting a lot better at it, but I'm still not 100%.
But let me ask you, so because I'm going to get to that a little bit later, but right now, what I'm trying to sort of figure out, because, I get a lot of people, approaching me, a lot of friends of friends, and it's a lot to do with business, and they try to pick my brain.
Yeah.
And the common thing that I get asked or get told is that, a lot of these people are drawing this image very similar to what you said. And I'm not going to lie, I had that certain image. I had that image drawn out when I was a young kid too. But the reality of it, of sitting back and collecting really while, your team is working.
So far from it. And we've got this, especially I would say in Sydney, right? In Sydney, in the plumbing, electrical space, there's this very negative, and look, you know what? I love ambitious people. I think it's great. If you have a dream, you want to try to achieve something, 100% go for it, give it a crack. But what I find these days, and it's so common, right? And the reason why I know it's so common is because I've had it. I've had the guys that have tried it and came back, right?
It's
so
like
you feel like I'm going to go
community.
I'm going to go buy a ute. I'm going to go buy a jet blaster. I'm going to go buy a camera. I'm going to go spend $1,000 a day on Google AdWords, and I'm going to live it up, right? That's their image in their head when it's so far from the truth, right? And you see how many people try it. And again, I'm not trying to dishearten people, and they just might need to readjust how they think about business and what they're trying to achieve. And you know what, to be fair, if I was to start my business today, I don't know whether my business and a lot of the other businesses that are started 10 or 15 or 20 years ago would be the same as if we will start today. If we will start the business today. Because there's so much more competition. It's so much harder.
That's very interesting.
It's so much more competitive online. There's so many other... So what are you going to do that every other 3,000 other companies in Sydney, what are they going to do differently? What are you going to do different to them that's going to make you stand out and get you the work? So that's why I say if you can, join in or join a company that values you, right? And you're looked after and you can really make a difference in that company, and you sit back and you have this image, like I was saying before, that you're going to run this business and it's going to make... you're going to turn over $10 million in the first year and you're going to do da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? And you're going to sit back with the business. You've got this whole perception in your head.
It's a delusion.
It's a major delusion.
Look, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
You probably see more than what I do.
It's a true delusion. The problem is everyone is missing, especially a lot of the new guys that are trying to set up their businesses. They're missing the fundamentals of building a business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guess there was a lot of companies when you started off that started and failed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not one of those old school methodologies versus new school. It's not one of those.
I don't think I was saying that.
The environment now is harder to...
the environment's much more...
To start up a plumbing business, and I'm not going to lie to you, it would be a nightmare. And to be honest with you, as an agency, we really avoid taking on certain like plumbers in Sydney because it's so saturated and it's really hard to give it a fair crack online. So I'm not going to lie there. You're 100% right. But I feel like, you know, the way you go about business, you know, that's why I wanted to sort of slowly, take the people, the audience that's watching. I'm trying to take them on this journey of your path because, you know, when I said it's a pleasure to have you here, I've seen your growth and development. I've seen you when you first started, you were by yourself.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It was you and but you had a phenomenal mindset to build a business. It wasn't so much, I'm just trying to earn a wage or just earn income. It was, I'm trying to build a business.
100%.
And I tell you, I'll give you an example. And I tell you, this is the biggest for me when I reflect, like when I'm dealing with any customer, anyone, all right? This is my first thing that I do because we have to make sure that we're dealing with the right customer, because if we have any chance to succeed for them online, the customer has to be the right customer too. So this is my first thing. I ask, how long you been in business, right? Now, if a customer has told me that they've been in business for more than 5 years, the second question I ask them is, how much repeat customers do you have right now?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And if they say not many and they're struggling for work, that's a very big alarm bell. Like that is a hold up. There's something you're doing that's probably not 100% right. We need to configure that a little bit better.
Yeah.
But why I'm mentioning that is when you set out to build a business, I feel as though you had in mind that your self-pride, the fact that, you mentioned it earlier, you like to solve the problem and you get a satisfaction out of delivering a good service.
Yeah, 100%.
That characteristic, just that characteristic built a business.
100%. And I look back at it, all those little things combined in one do make a business, and you need to have that. That's the most, it amazes me the fact that how businesses operate on just new customers when they don't give any effort. They put so much effort into getting that customer, but they put nothing behind the scenes to capture that customer, right? To stay engaged with that customer, to, pick up the phone every 12 months and say, hey, there's 1,000 things.
I'm gonna touch on that again with you, but let's go back. So, you had this picture, the picture busted 6 months into it, right? Yeah. Or the bubble busted 6 months into it. Tell me why. So you start up the business.
Yeah.
Really, sometimes I think about it and I think, even when I started, I woke up and I used to go to the office. I used to open the door with my business partners and then, shit, what do I do? Yeah. Okay, let's get on the phones. How did you, when you said, I'm going to open my business, you register your business, you get you set it up, you're excited, you've saved your money obviously to do it, and day one, what's it like?
Yeah, so I was quite lucky at the start. So the first, say, 18 months, I got 2 contracts.
Wow.
One with Harvey Norman bathrooms and kitchens.
Wow.
So I was doing their renovations, and then I was doing one with another kitchen company. They used to do high-end bathrooms and kitchens, right?
How?
Referrals.
Were you cheap?
No, they had set prices.
But were those set prices cheap?
Yes, they were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me try to put it in perspective. 10 plumbers. How many plumbers will say, I won't do that job, that's too cheap? I won't do the Harvey Norman contract. I can't make money out of that.
I would say nearly all of them would walk away from it. Legit.
Okay. I knew you'd answer that. See, what you were willing to do, because it wasn't, because, a lot of the audience will say, that's how he started. He had 2 contracts, set him up.
Yeah.
No, that's probably not the case. Those honestly, contracts were probably just break even.
I'm not even exaggerating right now. If you and you know what, this is the thing as well. When you're a business, when you first set up your business, right? You have all this money coming in. You think you've got all this money coming in for even after the jobs, right? So the jobs to paint a picture. If you were to do a bathroom renovation, and when I talk about bathroom renovation, I'm talking about high-end bathroom renovations, right? The trickiest of the trickiest. So if you're out 0.5 centimeter, it's going to show.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
And if it stuffs up, it's they're back charging.
And you did that when you first started.
First started.
And what made you think you can do it?
because I always had a very good attention to detail when it comes to that sort of stuff. I could do it, right?
The confidence, good. I like it.
And let me tell you something as well, right? In that 18 months, I learned so much, right? So much.
Give me 3 key things.
That I needed to make sure that the job was done right 100% every single time, because I didn't want, number one, to ruin my reputation and have recalls, because it was going to cost me money in the end, right? I learned that just because you've got money coming in, that you really don't understand business and numbers. And that was something that you sort of understood, because you see these guys starting up now, right? And they go do 3 or 4 jobs a day, and they might discount and jobs to, because you're undercutting this guy and you're going in at this rate. But when you pay your, I can name you, I think our, 70, 80 overheads that you per month that you have, that your insurances, your vehicles, your petrol, your public liability, workers. I can go on and on and on and on and on, that people don't think about, that they see the money coming in, that when your accountant goes to you, well, here's X amount that you've got to pay at the end of the month, and here's your income tax, and here's your company tax, and this is what you're going to pay for your super because now you're a company. Are you really making money, or are you better off working for someone else? They don't understand that.
I'll tell you what, I did a podcast which was received so well, and it was about knowing your numbers. All right.
Yeah.
And when was that moment that you said, "Shit, I better learn, I better understand"?
As I went
my
on,
numbers.
I'll tell you something as well. As I continued through my company journey, I love reading and educating. Even now, I love reading and educating and listening to things. And as I went along, I just sort of understood, and I knew that, hey, if I really wanted to run a successful business, I really needed to understand what I was doing right, what I was doing wrong, the right people in the right areas that guided me. And even till today, I still learn. I still want to do things differently. I want to better myself. How do I make the end result better? How do we make a 2% increase? Like you're talking, if you're looking at, profit margins and you're looking at things like that, how do I turn this from a negative into a positive? What can I do to tweak this? How do I get this down? How do I bring this up? How do I get more productivity, more efficiency? All
it's
these
so
things
funny. None of that is plumbing.
No, it's
all of that is business.
And this is what I was saying. The education that I had, I was pretty street smart, and I was pretty cluey, and I knew how to navigate, and I always knew I had enough brains up here to sort of navigate through life. And I knew that as I went along, I'm not super smart, but I had the effort and the drive. I feel like if you have that, you can learn the other stuff.
Okay, good, because we're gonna note that down. Effort is a huge thing, because commitment is another part. But I'm gonna touch on, like, we're going back and we're saying, okay, you got these 2 contracts, and we know they're not making you really much money, but at least you wake up and there's something to do. At
that time, so that was when I probably came out and I started to reach you guys. All the money that I did make, I was probably drawing a wage, honest.
Yep.
I was still living at home. So I got married at 25, end of 25.
Wow, still young.
So I was just before I turned 26, right? And so I was still living at home, and I felt like I could do what I wanted to do what I needed to do still. And the money, everything that I was making, I was putting back in. And I knew at that point I wanted to get away from the construction side and into maintenance.
Okay.
I knew that because I wasn't enjoying it anymore.
Yep. Was it because of routine, or?
The jobs were absolutely horrible.
Yep.
And to put it into perspective, like you were doing, the travel was really bad. The jobs were horrible. I was feeling deflated because I wasn't getting paid what I felt like the job was worth. And I slowly is when everything started with you guys. At that point, it was around that time that we set up the website. I bought a van off a plumber who died underneath the house. I remember that. My first van was a plumber who died underneath the house. I still remember picking up the van. I was eerie about it, right?
Yeah, that's a bit freaky, man.
Yeah, and so I decked that out, and I was all excited, and it was like a new beginning sort of thing, because I was working out of a ute before, and I was in a van, and things just evolved from that point.
But like, so all right, you don't have this maintenance experience.
Yeah.
right? So we're in this time period,
Yeah.
this 24, 25, just before you get married,
Yeah.
you're at home, you don't have much overheads at home.
Yeah.
So it's an ideal situation. You're earning money, are you blowing it?
No, I was always very.
Are you conservative?
I've always.
Would you
one thing
say-
I have very good, a very
Yep.
good characteristic about myself is I knew when to spend.
Yep.
And I always got what I wanted to get, but I was always very smart, and I saved my money. You know, once I heard this, and I swear this stuck with me from such a young age, right?
Yeah, tell me.
It's not how much money you make; it's how much money you save.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. So you can. It was never about. I never had this image of short-term gain for me. It was never about that. It was always the long term. So I would come invest back in whatever I could save at the time. I would save. I would do whatever I could at the time, but I was constantly putting back in.
Okay. How many hours a week were you working?
Honestly, 50 to 60 emergency call outs after hours, 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. So you're 24, 25, you're about to get married.
Yeah.
You know, you have your fiance or your girlfriend and you're ready to get married, because that's a new world too. So you're going to need,
100%.
like, running a business. And I know, you know, who from the audience, whoever's watching this, they'd probably say, you're 100% right. Like, you need a very understanding support circle. Like, you need your family and your friends. And now you're about to get married. Now, was there an understanding for your fiance at that time that this is the life I'm living and I've got to work really hard to make it somewhere? Or was it one of those things that was she just straight away understood?
I think she understood. And I don't think at the time we
Was it discussed?
what
The workload of running your own business, like your ambition? It was just organic.
Yeah.
Was it an issue?
I've been with my missus from a very young age.
Yep.
Since I was about 17, 18. So I think we went along with life together and things just sort of fell into place.
Yep.
And whatever we both done, we just agreed on, and we just, she supported me through it. And it was...
Was there struggles? Because your
100%,
absence,
100%.
because I know, look, when you first start a business, and this is in the early stages of your business, right? So you're putting in this.
And then, like, again, 100%. Like, we were handed nothing down via our parents. The only thing that my parents had property in Lebanon.
Yep.
They sold that, and I remember my mum sold the apartment, or she sold the shop. I can't remember which one it was. And she pulled out 30 grand out of that, and she helped me put, that was part of a deposit that I put on a unit that I purchased.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just before I got married.
All right. Stop there. Because, for me, it's all about decisions. Your life is, every stage of this journey in life or business or whatever, you're always presented with a couple of decisions to make. Your mum handing 30 grand.
Yeah.
You got your business starting off.
Yeah.
30 grand can do a lot. A lot of people's mindset, there's people like you, and then there's people slightly different that says, I'll put 30 grand in my business to try to turn it into 100.
Yeah.
What made you say, I'm going to put it into it?
Again, I was pretty, I've always sort of generally made the right decisions. And I loved the fact and the feeling that I could have my own place and our own place together. Right. So, I didn't even hesitate. That wasn't even part of it. Honestly,
it was just
straight on a property. Bang.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well done. All right.
Straight on a property. Yeah. Straight on a property. And that was our first unit that we purchased. Man, I look back at it.
You bit off a lot
of people.
A lot more than a lot of people can chew. Like, you're getting married, you started your business.
Yeah.
You're investing into a unit.
Yeah.
You're working all of these hours.
Yeah.
At any stage in that first year, did you say, I might as well work for someone? Was there any deflated periods outside of the renovations, like the Harvey Norman contract or whatever it might be? Were there any moments where you said, like, I'll give you an example. Sometimes, how you said the expenses, and you say all this income, you take off all the expenses, and you, like, let's say, for example, let's work rough figures. I turned over 10 grand this week. Yeah. You minus all your expenses and you're left with a net of $2,000. 1 second. Then you divide the $2,000 with 60 hours.
Yeah.
60.
Yeah.
Is it? Am I wrong?
No,
60 hours.
100%.
$2,000, 60, $30 an hour.
Yeah.
$30 an hour at your skill set at that age.
100%.
You go to a plumbing company,
Yeah.
you would have got more.
100%.
What made you like? What was it? Like, was it you saw
I just had
growth?
this hunger.
At
That point when I was committed,
Yep.
I wasn't going to stop until I either failed and I had to physically shut the business down because it was just not going to work, or I'm going to continue on.
Okay.
And wherever it took me, right?
Wow.
But it was, there were 100%, there were times when I was just like, man, is this even worth it? What am I doing here?
Yeah.
And I as I went along and as it continued to evolve and as I continued to sort of reinvest back into the marketing and understand the social aspect of it and the digital field and the things that you really needed to do to succeed into it, is when I really started to really enjoy it and it started to thrive more. But at the very beginning, from that transition from when we were doing those bathrooms and those renovations into that into the maintenance field, 100% it was those sorts all the time. But there was just something there. I can't explain it. I don't know. I look back at it now and it's...
You're determined, very determined. Okay, so you have your company now, your business, all right? And you're probably just a sole trader.
Yeah.
You're not set up as a company,
Nah.
PTY, LTD. You don't even know anything about that.
Nah, not at all.
You don't know the risks. You don't
Nah.
understand.
Nah.
Really, to be honest, it's probably not important at that stage. But regardless, you have your number there. Did you have a sense of pride?
100%.
Great. Awesome. Now, your number's there. You start marketing. Now, your phone rings. Did you have a hunger? Did you take anything on?
Yeah.
Did you just, if the phone rang, would you run?
100%.
Now, okay, example, your phone, it's obviously not going off the hook. Your phones aren't going crazy, but it's you take the phone call, you go out on the job. Do you know how to quote? Because remember, like
No,
so
at the start, no.
far, like I said, you have no maintenance experience.
Nah.
Yeah. So you're rocking up. Say for
Nah,
example, I called you to
100%.
come in here and I said, hey man, like my hot water system is leaking. Yeah. Or something like that. You come in, you don't know what the average plumber charges.
Nah.
You might have heard, you know what I mean, what they charge, but you don't really know. You don't even know the process of quoting.
Yeah, no, not at all. Nothing. I learned that as I went along. And you know what? It's...
Do you think that was a blessing or a curse?
I think it was
Do
a
you think
blessing
it
because
slowed
it made
you
me
down?
understand. I sort of see two sides of the spectrum now.
Okay.
I'll give you an example.
Explain that,
right?
yeah.
I'll give you an example. If when we get guys to come in into our business now,
Yes.
right? Guys who are say just got their Cert 3, they're now a qualified plumber, right?
Yep.
And they come in and they have an image in their head of what they should be charging for something. I go in and I've got a leaking tap, right? They think it's a $100 tap. We're going to be charging $180 and we're making $80 profit on the job, for example, right?
Yep.
That's how they think, right?
Of course.
When you actually sit them down and you make them understand the things that it takes to run a business, and you now are in the maintenance field, so you're talking about same day service, which means now you need more trucks, more productivity, you need more efficiency, you need more staff, more vehicles, more training, more everything else to make that customer happy because you're getting there on the same day, for example. Then you start to understand what it takes to quote, what goes into a price, how to price, the art of selling a job. And you know what I've learned as we went, I really fell into the love of sales as I continue to evolve my business, because once I understood the numbers and where I was profitable and what I needed to do to
That
sell
unlocked
it was just
everything.
like a light bulb moment. I knew,
Okay.
this is what I had to do.
All right. So you're not really knowing how to quote.
Nah.
And like you mentioned, so I feel like what you mentioned before was you realized the numbers don't stack up.
Nah.
That's obviously because you've realized you're underquoting, right?
Dramatically.
Now, there's one part which is underquoting. That's a big part that a lot of businesses, I believe, they fail in.
Yeah.
Because you can quickly go backwards because you're ballooning in areas like you're turning over, but you're ballooning in debt. So whether it be your materials bill, your ATO bill, your super bill, whatever it might be, there's a balloon that's getting bigger and bigger in the background. So that's one part. What about, so then you mentioned sales. Now, when you were arriving at these jobs, were you just, I got a leaking hot water, you're just fixing that?
Yeah.
Now, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I might not know that you can fix, in the basement, we have a water pump issue. I might not know that you can fix that.
Yeah.
Like, so early on, you weren't scoping out further work.
Nah, not at all. And look, to be fair, the scoping out, you know what I did realize as I went along is that customers can smell your bullshit. Right. So if someone comes into my house and they have a blocked drain, I'm not selling them a broken tap to fix the blocked drain. To give you an example, right? Yeah. I'm over exaggerating here, but you sort of get the drift, right? As long as it's genuine and there's a genuine need for something to be repaired that you pick up on, that's something that then 100% they'll most likely get it done. But what I do find is plumbers nowadays and this comes back down to the trust and the image of plumbers and whatever it is, right? That if you're going in and selling things that don't need to be sold, then you're being an unethical person and you're going to get found out.
Yes.
Right. I always say this, right? At some point, you might not get found out today. You might not. This is in any industry, not only plumbing. If I'm coming into your house or your office or your department or whatever it is, and I'm trying to sell you something that I don't need, you're going to get found out about it. And the customer at some point is going to know about it, which then in return is going to affect your business. It's going to affect your name and your reputation. It's going to have a long-term effect. You
can't recover from.
Once, they say that it takes so many years for you to build up that trust. It takes one little thing and your trust is broken.
Literally.
Simple as that. That's sort of an overview of it. So there's so much that plays into that.
I know.
That whole aspect.
But let me join these two dots. You're underquoting. You're just going in, and I don't mean it in a way where you're not scoping and overselling. I don't mean it like that. But you're just going in as a plumber. You're not understanding the business aspect.
Nah, not at all.
You're fixing issue, leaving, right? Now you said you learn this whole sales element, and you understand the numbers a little bit better.
Yeah.
And it helps you attach the right price to a service.
Yeah, sure.
That's one part. But when you say I fell in love with the sales part, some people, because the average consumer doesn't really know they're getting sold to. I don't think that they believe when they call a plumber that the plumber's coming out with a sales pitch.
Yeah. I don't think it's a sales.
No, this is what I'm trying to say is, so the sales element, what part of the sales element do you believe is sales?
I'll give you an example. Right? This is a good example, right? You've got a block drain in your house, okay? I come in and I do a jet blast and now your drain is clear, right?
Yes.
But what I don't do is I don't put a camera down your drain.
Yes.
So what's going to happen now is it's going to block up in 3 months' time and you're going to call someone else because they haven't fixed the problem out right. When you talk about sales, and a lot of what people don't understand is you need to get to the root cause of the issue. So if I conduct a camera inspection in that line and I find this entire line is infested with roots, I can give you a quote to just jet blast it and walk away, but it's going to happen again. So when I talk about sales, you offer the things that they physically need to resolve their issues.
I'm so glad you said that, because what I was trying to sort of portray to the audience is you're not selling for the sake of selling. No. You're selling education. It's actually called solution selling.
Yeah.
So what you're trying to do is provide them and give them enough education that they can make the right decision. Ultimately it's their decision. If they say at that stage, I don't need the camera, as long as you've let them know about the risks. Do you know what I mean?
At the very start, I actually used to feel, this is something about my personality, right? That I shouldn't be upselling. I used to consider it upselling.
Yep.
Right. I should just clear out the jet blaster and I feel like I'm doing them a favor.
Yep.
Right?
Okay.
I used to feel bad, honest. But as I went along and I understood that what you're doing here, this is something, again, this is as you evolve in business, all these little things sort of come to you. But I wasn't really providing these customers with a permanent solution. And I used to feel bad about providing them with a permanent solution. How stupid does that sound, right? When you think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I
know why.
That's just because that's just the way that I am as a person. But as I went along and I understood that I'm calling you because I have an issue. I don't want this issue to reoccur again.
That's right.
So now your mindset needs to really change. You're not doing me a favor. You're actually doing me harm, because it's going to grow, especially in the summer months, because roots are growing like crazy. The trees and the roots are growing like crazy. So it's going to happen again. So you're not really doing me a favor. You're doing me an inconvenience.
Agreed.
So it's a mindset I feel that needed to change. There was something that changed.
So you're saying, okay, so it's awesome, because what you just said is the second you changed your mindset between, making sure you're providing a permanent solution. That's it.
Yeah.
That mindset. The second it switched to that, it opened up the ability for you, number one, to have a proper discussion with the customer.
Yeah, 100%.
Builds a lot more value, builds a lot more trust. Do you know what I mean? You providing them with options. And
like I was saying before, if you're trying to sell something that's not there, you're going to get found out about.
Absolutely.
It. Because Kanan's going to go and get another plumber. The other plumber's going to show me inside that pipe.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with the pipe, mate.
That's right.
Yeah, and then what happens is you create this vicious monster that shouldn't even be there. And that's what a lot of guys in businesses do. They feel like sales is the way to get your customer. And a lot of guys will pick and choose which jobs they want to go to. But this smaller job here, because I've done such a great job here, when they have a larger job, who are they going to come to?
They trust you. This is exactly why I'm saying, like, I really needed to make sure the audience understood the word sales, because some people get this sickly feeling when they feel like they're being sold to.
Yeah.
So it's more the solution. You're providing them with a solution, and that's part of sales, because sales, you're building value.
100%.
You're building value in your brand, in the service that you provide. So how quick did you realize that you had to build more value in yourself, in your service?
Pretty early on, yeah. And it needed to change. Once I started to understand the numbers and what was needed, like I said, it needed to really change quick.
Okay. And how did you remove that cringe feeling of...
I got training on it.
Okay, so all right, so you actually said, you know what, I'm actually going to get someone to help me.
Yeah, 100%. As I went along, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we went along to sales training and...
But what was it that said, okay, so you're sitting there and you're saying, okay, well, these are the numbers. Well, what makes you say, you know what, because you're self-employed. Do you know what I mean? It's very rare that you get someone in taking the initiative to self-invest in themselves.
Yeah.
What made you, what was that? Was it, I'll give you an example. Was it you're sitting at a barbecue, speaking to a couple of plumbers and they're talking about selling a hot water system for $4,000?
I think it was an accumulation of that as I went along. And not only that.
Like, were you just constantly being shocked the prices other plumbers are charging and thinking?
Not necessarily the prices, but the fact that what they were selling, how they were selling it. And sometimes it was the jobs that they were winning, the amount, but that wasn't necessarily it. It was more about, how do I do it? How do I approach it? How do I present this to a customer? How do I overcome your objections?
Okay.
How do I present you the quote properly? What do I need to do? How do I come up? What sort of shirt do I need to wear? How does my hair need to be? How does all these little factors? And you know what I read? And this is something that's so true, right? If you look at your top salesman and you look at the middle average salesman, between the two, do you know what there's going to be? There's going to be a few little increments of little things that this guy up here is doing differently to the person down here.
The 1%ers.
The 1%ers, right? The little things that you learn in sales. And that only comes with experience. And I wanted to learn that because, again, I didn't come from a maintenance background. I didn't have that taught to me. I was just taught, how do I put this thing into this place and make it work?
Wow. Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there was a very big element of a lot of learning, a lot of things that you needed to invest in during that time, because now I've decided, that's it, I'm in the maintenance game, I'm in the maintenance field. This is what I need to do. What do I need to do to win? How do I succeed?
Tell me, you're operating, you're starting to get some momentum, you're getting some calls. Now you want to grow the team, right? Did you know what to do? Was it as simple as find a plumber, get a U?
I wish it was that simple.
What was it like? And were you worried about growth because
Yeah,
you could depend on yourself?
Yeah.
Could you depend on your friend or hiring someone? Because at the end of the day, they have your brand. You already take pride in your brand, right? You looked at your van when you first got it and you had a sense of pride. You know, handing that over to a new employee.
Yeah.
Was it an issue for
100%.
you?
Yeah, I found it so hard to let go. Really, I really had to learn how to trust and let go and delegate. And that was probably one of my biggest flaws very early on.
When you say flaws, what did it cost you? Do
Growth
you think
at the time?
Yeah.
Expansion at the time?
Mm-hmm.
It cost me my time, my efforts.
Yeah, so you did mention you stunted your growth because you were very controlling, and you have every right to.
Controlling in the sense where I didn't want to let my customers down again. Right?
Yeah, that's what my point is. You have every point to. Number one, it's your reputation. Number two, it's your license.
Yeah.
Number three, it's your brand. You don't open a business just to be open for a year. You open it to be for many years. So you're entrusting that into someone, and I like how you said they're your clients.
Yeah.
You're not letting down your client.
Yeah.
You have every right to be controlling. But do you believe that you may have example, because everyone makes mistakes. What mistakes other than like, what do you think it cost you? Like, do you think you made mistakes in certain suppliers? Did you make mistakes with staff or selecting staff or?
All of the above, everything. Yeah. All of the above. And I just feel like, as you go along, that's something that as you grow and add staff and you trust, that you start to think about those other things. The staff, even the staff hiring, we get it pretty good now, right? Pretty right, to be honest.
Now.
Yeah. But there were periods I look back and I say to myself, why did you even go down that road?
Give me one example. Give me one example of
skill sets of certain guys that I thought that were on, like if someone was to come in now and say to me, I am worth X amount of dollars per hour. This is what I can do. This is what I can deliver. I wasn't doing background checks and I wasn't doing things like police checks and just trusting people for what they say. I found that's probably one of the biggest things. Staff is a major. You're putting this trust in these guys going out. They're doing the right thing by you, and things happen behind the scenes. And so the hiring, I feel like, could have been handled so much better. And now that I have a system in place and we have procedures and we do things and the probational periods are so much longer and the scrutiny comes down on these guys. And if you feel like something generally isn't right and you've got that gut feeling, it generally isn't right.
Well, your gut feeling really did lead you to many good decisions. So you can.
Yeah, but I had to learn the hard way, right?
Yeah. Now let me like. There's a stage like, so you're now operating your business. You're starting to make a little bit more money because it's growth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're starting to be smarter with money, so you're going to earn a little bit more money. Let me ask you, did you lash out at any stage? Number one. Number two,
Lash out with what?
Like spending?
Yeah. In
not
terms of
outside
business or outside?
Outside of business.
Yeah. No.
Because, okay, no. All right. Let me ask you another question. Did you take, example, a wage, or did you just take what you needed?
Yeah, I draw down a wage now. I do draw down a wage.
We're not talking 10 years on. We're talking about, because a lot of the audience, having an insight into someone who's extremely successful, there's a certain way that you went about things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And cash handling and how you deal with your own money. I know a lot of people that they use their business bank account as their personal bank account. And that's a major mistake. That's a big no-no. You know what I mean? That can really lead you down the wrong path. But did you take what you need, or did you draw down a wage? How did you say?
At that time, I only took what I needed.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was irregular.
Yeah.
There were times where you feel like you'd still, even as you continue to add people and add the vehicles and as you continue to grow and grow and grow, man, even like you look at it and you think to yourself, awesome, we're adding X amount onto the company this year, and this is what we've done this year, and we've had a great month, and you've had this and you had that, and you're thinking, where's all this money going? What's happening? So again, that it continues to go along, and it still happens. The irregularity. You need to be comfortable with having an irregular cash flow sometimes, especially in the business that I'm in. In this, and we focus a lot on strata, and we do COD as well. But there is irregularity in when our suppliers pay us, I guess. So yeah, 100%. I would say I look back at it and I would think that I only took what I needed to, and I was okay with that. I was okay with that.
How did you? So for example, measuring sticks, right? Like when I say measuring stick, as a business owner who's traveling this journey of running their own business, you sometimes really need, which you don't even know you need, but you do need this confirmation that you're on the right track. And sometimes the only way a business owner can get that is where they there's a measuring stick where they sort of benchmark themselves to another company or to their competition, or to another trade, or to someone their age. There's 100 ways of using a measuring stick. Did you need any form of confirmation to know that you're on the right track?
The only confirmation that I felt like I needed was from the people in my team, like my accountant and my bookkeeper. Simple as that.
Well done. And did you get any outside of that, any like criticism? Did you get any?
Nah.
Okay. Like, let me give you another example. So sometimes the only way some people realize success is by the amount that they earn.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, it's the material items that they have.
Yeah.
They don't really, like, I'll give you an example. Some people say, it doesn't matter how big the business is. If I don't feel the personal reward out of it, being financially, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I think as you go along, that is, you need to, I feel like the company to be healthy, you need to be making money.
Yes.
100%, right? But to me, how I measure what I get out of business is you need to be making money, 100%. But I love the fact that I can lead a team of people, and we all together in it as one. I know it might sound cheesy, but as an owner, I love it. I enjoy it so much, right? And I love the fact that if I want to go on a holiday, whenever I want to, me and my wife and my kids love traveling. That's how I measure my success, really honest, right?
Yeah, okay.
I love sitting in the American Express lounge, kicking back before a flight, going on, the 1, 2, 3 holidays a year. They might not all be international.
Yeah.
We might even go,
But it's getting away.
It's getting away. That's how I measure my success.
Yes.
Right? So there is an element of that, but I don't think money is the driver. Money is not the driver. It's being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it to a certain extent.
Yep.
And building something more than what money can buy.
Okay. All right. That's interesting, because I'm asking that question because, I know a lot of people, especially think about it, right? If you look at your early days of your thought process of what owning a business is, money is a factor. You know what I mean?
It is early on, 100%.
But then now 10 years on, the excitement and the reward you get from having a happy team, a productive team, a united team is huge. And I guess every year that goes by, like for example, the last holiday you had probably a lot less dramas happen while you were overseas. And that's also a measuring stick to know that your business is a lot healthier now.
But there have been holidays, for example, where I've went maybe 4 or 5 years ago, for example, and it was just a complete debacle. Right, really. But it made me more stressed.
That taught you something.
Yeah, but then you think to yourself, look, I run my own company, I do this, and I can't even go on a friggin' holiday and enjoy myself without having to deal with the issues. And it's disheartening. Really, it really is.
But how did you change that mindset?
As we grew, I think, again, it comes back down to people.
Yeah.
And putting procedures and systems and knowing your roles, and this is what you need to do, and this is how you tackle this. And if this happens, you do da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That continues on as you evolve as a company. And the more systemized you are, the more procedures you have, and the people that you have in the key positions plays a massive role.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're now transitioning into, okay, your business is doing well. When you talk business, with the people your circle? Are you the listener, the nice, humble guy that takes everyone's sort of opinion in and let it absorb nicely? Or are you the defensive type? When someone says you should be doing it this way, or you should be doing it that way, or you're doing it wrong. There's a lot. Or are you the type that doesn't really discuss business much?
Yeah, as I've gotten older, I've become a lot much better listener. So my wife tells me.
Okay.
As I was growing up, especially as in my younger years, I used to find taking criticism was a very, very difficult task and very, very difficult thing for me, to be honest with you, right?
Okay, but tell me, was it you refused it?
No, I didn't appreciate someone coming in and telling me you're wrong.
But
you should be doing it this way.
But did you used to reject it, then think about it? Or did you?
I used to reject it and think about it.
Or did you ignorantly just fully reject it and walk away?
It wasn't so much ignorance.
Okay.
It wasn't ignorance. I've never been arrogant or ignorant.
Okay.
I've been defensive, and I can't believe you just told me that. Why have you told me that? Why? And as I went along and as I got older and understood myself, and I knew more about myself and how I worked as a human being, I really it was like a really cool moment, right? Honestly, that now I look at it, and when we go back and we talk about strata and stuff like that, I think it's built up this resilience that I really don't care what you think. I'm getting your business no matter what. And or unless you tell me to literally F off, like putting it plain and simple, right?
Wow.
But yeah, I found it very hard to take in criticism, feedback. And it wasn't until I got older and older and older, I went through business, and as I continued to go along, that I actually started to take it in. And I now take criticism as a positive. I take it in to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. Just because you say something doesn't mean I agree with you, but I respect your decision. I'll take it in and I'll filter it within myself. If I feel like it's applied and applicable to me, then I will look at it myself, and I'll look at how I'm...
All right, let me ask you a question. Socially, you're sitting around. There's a bunch of your friends or friends of friends, and you're sitting around. Is everyone's discussion points or criticism or their content, are they, do you look at it like, for example, someone might be talking about something because they don't have the credentials that you don't actually, you tune them out? Like, I'll give you an example. You're sitting down with a group, one person has a super successful business. One person, no, they don't have a successful business, but that's not a measuring stick in life. Yeah. We're talking about business right now, right? So they're two different circles. One's got a super successful business. One doesn't have he hasn't operated a business ever. Is the person that has a business, is he more credible to your ears than the person that doesn't?
Yeah, he is.
He is?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel like I'm in it and I understand it.
Okay.
And I respect that. That doesn't mean I don't respect the other guy.
No, because we're talking about business here. We're not talking about that person.
I'll never do anything or say anything. I'll just internally think to myself, I probably can lean more and gravitate more towards this guy because he knows what's going on and he knows how to run a successful business. But I'll never look at this other guy, this other person in a way where I'm looking down on them or anything like that. No, not at all.
No, I like your honesty because I'm not going to lie. In certain crowds, in certain rooms that you sit, right? The weight of someone's voice. So, for example, if you see a person talking and you see that the entire group around them is listening, you know that everyone finds that person credible.
100%, yeah.
Right? And it might mean, like, say, for example, you're sitting down and you're talking about spirituality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you know that there's a super spiritual person, everyone's engaged. Yeah. It's just because they're a lot more credible.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
But if you will notice in certain groups that some people may talk because they haven't got the credibility, a lot of people are not listening to them.
Yeah.
They're cutting them off.
Yeah.
They don't let them finish their sentences.
Yeah, sure.
Do you feel throughout your journey, so you're 10 years in, do you feel now you engage a social audience a little bit more?
Yeah.
Because your credibility.
Yeah, 100%.
Like they take you a
100%.
little bit more serious.
Yeah.
Do you feel as though you get asked for more advice?
100%.
Do you give the advice?
Yes, all the time.
Okay. Do you get frustrated when people don't take the advice?
No.
No skin off your nose?
No,
Like,
not at all.
Easy?
No.
All right, that's
No,
good.
no.
All right, excellent. Do you okay, what's one thing, I want to know one thing that if you were sitting down with your younger self, right? What's one lesson, just one, your number one lesson that you would give to say, do this differently? So you're sitting down and you're talking to Michael that's aged 23 years old.
Yeah. I would the biggest thing I think would be so 23?
Yeah. Because this is that's the peak, not the peak, that's the start of your career.
I don't know, it's a hard question, you know? It's a really hard question.
Like, I'll give you an example. Is it, you know,
I feel like I started young. I look back and I say to myself, I'm proud.
no, you're super proud.
100%,
But what's
but
one thing that
what
you
can
say you could have unlocked?
Yeah. I feel like the whole delegating and trusting was a big thing for me. Honestly, I feel like I needed to really overcome that.
Okay, good.
Because I just didn't. I'll give you an example. If I got a negative review 5 years ago online, man, it was like the end of the world. Really, right?
All right.
Now, if I was to get a negative review, I still get upset and I don't like it, but I know that I can't please everyone. And
Okay.
you're in business, you're going to ruffle a few feathers, you're going to stuff up.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to get to this person's house because things out of your control are going to happen in the service industry. And I've learned that you can't control everything. You can do your best and you learn from your mistakes and you correct your errors. You fix that up, but other than that, there's not much else you can do.
When you say that, is it because it caused you a lot of stress and anxiety?
100%.
Okay, stress and anxiety. Do you think part of, because what you just said is very mature.
Yeah.
It's a mature way of looking at business, right? And I believe you need to go through some of these stages to get to that maturity level.
Sure.
But dealing with stress and anxiety, it's a major thing.
100%.
You know, there's not much out there online that basically gives you, you know, there's a lot of motivational bullshit out there. There's a lot of, you know, these are the 5 tips to success, and this is how you make millions in 2 days. But there's not a lot of material out there that talks about like stress and anxiety of running a business. Because I know, you know, for me, you know, it's funny because we traveled this journey sort of together. Because you were my client, you know, I work for your business as well, and we're talking about now. We started around 11 to 12 years ago too, so we sort of started the same. We grew together, in my opinion. But I know throughout my course, you know, there were certain stages where, you know, stress and anxiety consumed me to a point where I realized that stress can cause this chemical change in your body, and it can create sickness. It's so
100%.
weird because it's not like flu. It's not like a disease, or I don't know what I can't articulate it properly, but I know that there was weeks, months where I would be consumed, anxiety, heart palpitations, where I had to control my breathing, because there's always this moment in time where you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders, especially when you're growing and you start to see that there's a team that might be relying on you.
Yeah. Man, business, this is something as well. This is probably one of the biggest, honestly, this is probably one of the biggest factors, the unspoken factors that people don't understand in business is the stress, the sleepless nights, the anxiety, the issues that you face personally, socially, financially, that business owners will only know about, right? And I'll give you an example, right? Probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I developed alopecia, right?
Okay.
Alopecia.
Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, I'll give you an
Alopecia,
example what it is. So I started to get patches in my beard. I'm like, what the hell is going on? What the hell is it? What is going on here? What's happening, right? It was all related from stress, right? So how I perceive something, how I perceive a situation. And it wasn't until it was like after I turned 30, and when they tell you everything's downhill from 30, right?
Yeah.
as soon as I hit 30, honest, legit, right? In business, things just changed. Stress was an everyday factor. Anxiety was an everyday factor. Fear, even though I'm not fearful of losing my business, so I wasn't fearful, but I was just, it was more the fear of failure. When I was over dramatizing situations in my head, right? That comes with the stresses of staff, the issues that you face with staff. I can't even go on a holiday and enjoy myself with my own family. I had to leave when I was early on in setting up the business, and I look back at it, the after hour call outs, I'd have young kids at home, leave at 2, 3 in the morning. All these thousand other things that I can talk about that are the unheard of, the unspoken of, where, you know, as an employee, you come to work, whether you have a crappy week, you've got a good week, you're getting paid at the end of the month. If you work hard, you get your bonuses. And I think to myself, man, if you guys can work, this is why I said at the start, if you can work for someone and you can be valued and your skill set can be valued and you can get paid well and you can be a part of something, why don't you want to be a part of that? Everyone has this image of, I want to go and set up my own truck. I want to go do this and I want to go there. And you know what? You might aspire to do that. Fantastic. But your vision and this picture that you have is so far from the truth that you don't understand what comes with running a business.
And you're saying that, if I was to, you know, try to explain what you're trying to say and tell me if I'm correct or not, what you're saying is it's a scary journey.
100%, man.
And you go back to what you're saying, like alopecia, you had, you know, spots.
Yeah.
You realize that you're carrying all this stress and anxiety and you're fearful of failing. But there also comes a stage where you built something up. Doesn't matter, tangible, non-tangible, the business, the brand.
Yeah.
You have a family, you know, it was you by yourself. Now you got your wife, you got your kids, you have a home. You have more to lose now.
100%, man.
That's something that might go through your head. But then it's also the bills. Then it's, you know,
the liabilities.
Okay.
Something goes wrong. Kanan's employed for me. Kanan goes and does something wrong and injures someone or kills someone or kills himself. What happens then?
A bad 3 months.
Man, it is COVID. Lucky for us though, we're in an industry where we actually, it was fun.
I think you underestimate that, because I know a lot of people in the trades and services, depending on the business owner.
Yeah, maybe so.
Would have, it depended how they tackled COVID.
Yeah, I remember having the conversation with our staff when it first happened, and I said, look, my aim is just to keep you guys employed. It might need to come down to me saying that you guys need to work 3 or 4 day weeks. I don't know what that's going to entail. We hired people through that process.
Well done. That's another sign of good leadership, that you sat down with your team and you showed them your intention. Look, at that time it was an unknown. No one had dealt with it before. So the way you dealt with it wasn't scripted.
Yeah.
No one could have told you how to deal with that situation.
Yeah, exactly right. And to go back to the whole stress and the anxiety thing, I think it's really important. It's not spoken about enough, right? I look back at it and I say to myself, I'm so happy and so grateful that the alopecia occurred, right?
Why?
I'll tell you why. Because it made me realize that there's things that I can control. There's things that I can't control. There's things that I need to do for myself. There's things that I need to do for my family. There's things I need to do for my mental health. And how do I, if I am having a crappy week or a crappy day, how do I get myself out of that negative thought? And now, as you went along and you learn about yourself and the issues that you face in life, and as you go along, the more kids you have, the bigger your team gets, the more stresses you have, the more liability you have, the bigger things tend to occur in your head. Now, if you don't have a system and a way of dealing with things, you're going to get eaten alive by your own self and your own mind. The mind, you might not feel, you might not feel it today. You might feel you're a bit stressed out today or whatever, but if it continues to accumulate day on day on day on day on day, it's going to come back. And I've seen it so many times with so many people in and around me, my friends and my family, business people that I know. So I'm grateful and I'm happy that it happened to me, because now...
How did you deal with it?
Yeah, I'll give you some things that I do myself, right? Every morning, I train at 5:30 in the morning. I do CrossFit. I do it at 5:30 a.m. in the morning, right? I get up at about 4:30. I meditate for a bit, 5-10 minutes, and I I find that if I used to use certain apps, but now I'm at a point where I just listen to sounds and music and I just breathe. There's things called box breathing that you can do. There's ways, your breath, we underestimate what your breath can do, right?
Wow,
really.
okay.
And if I'm feeling again overwhelmed during the day, I'll just go into the boardroom. I put my AirPods on. I just need 4 or 5 minutes. Now everyone knows, leave me alone for 5 minutes. I'll put my phone on do not disturb. I'll go out. I go into that room a person. I come back out of that room a different person. I find breathing and little things like being aware really, really help. I stretch a couple of times a week at night. So when the kids go to bed, I'll just go down. CrossFit's very intense, so it's a bit taxing on the body at times. And I just love stretching, man. Honest. I'll go and get a massage. Look, I used to find me and my wife and my kids love going to Bali. Absolutely love it, right?
That's the family destination.
And I find to myself that I was only going and getting a massage when I was in Bali. Why? Why do I feel like I need to? It was like I can't reward myself. I'm waiting for a holiday. You shouldn't have to wait for a holiday to live or feel happy or be present in the moment.
Yeah, or maintain your health, your just general.
What about you? This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you're taking the brunt of all your employees and you're doing everything, right? But what about you?
Yeah.
What are you doing for yourself? When are you and your wife going out by yourselves, leaving the kids with luck? We're so grateful that we've got great in-laws and our parents and my parents are great. And I can leave it with my sisters and my 18-year-old brother-in-laws, instead of going out clubbing, they come and babysit, for example, right? But so family really is important, but you need to do these things and you need to apply things in a way where you're looking out for yourself and you're doing things for yourself and you're exercising and you're doing, I don't know, man, you might.
All right, let me ask you. The 23, 24-year-old Michael.
Yeah.
If
I would have
you
laughed
heard,
at you.
yeah, if you heard that, you'd
Honest
laugh.
to God, I thought I was.
If you heard someone talk about box breathing.
Yeah, honest to God, I always say this, and I even say this to our team, and I share my experiences with my team because, and you know what's funny, right? It's only until I start sort of saying it that they start to open up. This whole stress, I'm pretty good and I feel like I've got it all under control now, right? But I still get stressed out. I still get worked up. I'm a very fast-paced individual. So I really needed to sort of learn how to slow right down.
Yep.
But I look back at it, and when I speak to my team and I share with them my experiences and how I look back at my 25 or 23-year-old, they start to relate with some of the experiences I'm facing now at 23. I can help them. I've had one-on-one conversations with some of my stuff about how I can help them. For example, they come to me now, and I love that.
Can I ask you, when you were going through the high stress and anxiety of running your own business, was there a shame?
It wasn't shame. It was
embarrassment. Was there, like, I'll give you an example. You obviously didn't,
confused.
But you didn't say it to everyone.
No,
you didn't.
Not at all.
You might have. Did you miss a couple of occasions, like, socially, because you were super stressed?
Yeah, sometimes I will, and I'd come.
Were you different
grumpy.
at home?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so you're different with your wife. You're different with your kids.
100%.
You're different with your team members. Like, you were different.
Yeah.
But why? At that stage, you weren't obviously vocalizing it.
Nah, not at all.
Why?
I think now, it's a good question, man. It really is a good question.
Because this is why I say there's not many things out there.
It's like that you're sort of
weak.
like what? Not weak, but why is it happening to me? Is there something wrong with me?
Can I not handle the pressure?
Yeah. Am I not
built for this?
You know what I mean? Your self-doubt.
Okay. Wow.
It all comes into play, man. Really, it really is. And
can I ask you another question? Let's say, for example, you did vocalize it to someone.
Yeah.
Did you think that they would receive that information thinking, not actually like they devalue what you just said, like minimize what you said, or relax, you've got your own business, you're killing it.
Yeah.
Why would you be going through stress?
There was a guy that's funny, right? I knew this guy. I didn't know him. It was more of indirectly, right?
Yep.
40-year-old guy, ran a multi-million-dollar property investment company.
Yep.
40 years old, 3 kids. 40 years old, killed himself. Right?
Ooh.
And you look back at it, and at that time, I think I was about 27, 28. And I think to myself, what is wrong with this guy? How do you get to a point in your life where you do that to yourself and your family.
And
right?
you have everything.
You have everything. You've got the world at your feet. You've got all the money. Thinking that money is the answer. Money's not the answer.
No.
Right? Money is something that comes with running a business, and you should be rewarded for 100%. But your happiness is more important than all of the above. And so when you go through it, it's only until you start understanding, and sometimes you need to go through it to understand. I was never at that point where I was ever going to do something to myself, but that's just me. Canal might be different. You might have those thoughts in your head. How do you know that? But I feel like now it's starting to become a lot easier for guys to speak, especially guys. And
But
men.
right now, let's say, for example, your team member talks about, mentions stress. Is it now something that you understand?
100%, man.
And are you open enough to explain
100%.
how stress affected you?
100%.
Because that's a massive sign of a good leader.
Yeah.
That they will share
Your vulnerability,
those things.
your vulnerability
Absolutely.
and your life issues and challenges that you face. And I think your team respects you for that. Right?
Agreed.
I don't do it intentionally to earn brownie points for my team or whatever it is, right? That's not my intention.
I think your intention is actually for you to help educate and make people feel, because at the time when you're dealing with that stress, it is freaky. Do you know what I mean? Because it changes the way you live.
We now, for example, if something's wrong with one of my staff members or something, they'll come to me. I love that. As I get older as well, my outlook on life changes a lot. My family and what happens is a lot more important.
Every time you take this, this development of your character up another level.
Yeah.
I feel like you share that experience straight away with everyone.
Yeah, I
You learn a new way of meditating.
Yeah.
You're telling the next person
100%.
about it. You experience a fantastic experience at a destination.
Yeah.
You're vocalizing it.
Yeah, 100%.
You're that type of person that will share your experiences. You're not someone that will just hang tight, keep things secret,
not at all. I
lock
always
and key.
that's never been me and never will be me. And
Yeah.
it's even like if a plumber calls me
Yeah.
and asks me for advice, I'm always happy to give it out because there's this weird thing sometimes of people where they feel like if I give you out my secret, it's gonna work better for me and you're gonna take my business. And it's all bullshit. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Because you've got to have something behind you. You've got to have a company.
Like your
behind
business
you.
can't be built on those 3 tips that you give another
doesn't matter.
plumber.
Yeah, exactly
If
right.
your business was only built on those 3
Everyone
tips,
be doing it, right?
that's right.
So I have no.
That's a very good way of looking at it. To be
I
honest
have
with
no
you.
hesitation. And you know what? Next time this guy needs something, or I need something off this guy, or I need to ask him about a certain guy that worked for this guy, or
Relationship building.
you know what I mean?
Well done. Okay, that was awesome to talk about, to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will find that valuable. Now let me talk, we're still in this journey. You're starting to service some clients, you're starting to grow. You're starting to get repeat business.
Yeah,
Now, part of this growing pains, you get recalls.
yeah.
You
I
obviously
don't physically get a lot of them. I used to never used to get some of them. Once we grew. Yeah, there was.
Yeah, you had staff members not
Yeah.
representing the brand properly.
Yeah.
Did you have a hard and fast rule? A plumber that had many recalls, that was a sign for you to say, huh?
Early on, no.
Okay.
I put up with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to float your business.
100%.
You don't know which direction to
Hiring
go.
was at that point, probably 5 years ago, so difficult still.
When
Finding
did you
the plumbers.
when did you put your foot down to say my brand and my longevity in my business meant more than the sales that person would bring in?
I sort of learned as I went along that if this guy or this person that I put in this position wasn't performing and you put parameters and KPIs around that, that they weren't doing what they wanted to do and they weren't performing or doing things in a certain way, that very early on you'd hit the nail on the head and bang, you address it. And if it doesn't get resolved, then you move them on. Simple as that.
And when you say you move them on, did you have were you decisive?
100%.
Do you believe decisiveness is very important in business?
Yeah, but again, I had to learn that. It wasn't early on.
Okay.
The bigger we got, the more people we hired, 100%.
You couldn't leave things lingering.
You just know now. Right?
Okay.
You just know.
Now tell me, right now, like you said, you're going on your 11th year. What would you say your percentage of repeat customers are?
Probably about 60%.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the size team that you have, your team has grown steadily.
Yeah.
I feel as though you have this methodical approach.
Yeah.
I feel like the way you build your business, you build your foundation very, very solid.
Yeah.
When that concrete's set,
Yeah.
you now build the next layer on top,
100%.
and then you set
Sometimes
that
I feel like I'm
foundation.
a little bit too conservative. Really?
Do
Right?
you let me ask you, do you feel that you're missing out on a lot of opportunity?
No, not a lot, but I feel like I probably can be. But I feel like now this year we're sort of really been a lot more aggressive.
Yep.
And we're going to continue to be aggressive.
Yep.
Because we have the fundamentals and the people in the right key positions in place.
Fantastic. That's awesome to know. But now you're at a stage where I feel as though you've morphed into, so you're a maintenance business, right?
Yeah.
Overarching, you're a maintenance business.
Yeah.
But then you've got your residential clientele.
Yeah.
And you keep on building that database.
Yeah, 100%.
And I feel as though you treat your existing customers as though that like they're family. Like
100%.
in a way where the way you value a client is a lot different to how I typically see a trades business values their client.
I think it's really important to me that if someone contacts SPS, that from the start to the finish, and I'm not just talking bullcrap here, right? Mm-mm. That from the start, from the initial phone call to the end result, that the process and a procedure is carried out. The call's answered correctly. We arrive when we say we're going to arrive. We quote correctly. We do the job properly. We clean up after ourselves. We invoice on the spot. We make it easy for that customer to make payment. We invoice. They talk about us. We ask for reviews. And there's a lot of other things that you do in the background to try to keep that customer.
And do you focus a lot on keeping that customer?
100%. So important, man.
So let's say you're talking about, so you've got a few different channels. So you've got, your strata and maintenance, which we're going to touch on next.
Yeah.
But you've got your existing customers.
Yeah.
And then you've got your new business, which is your new business is all the new customers that come through.
Yeah.
Now, as an agency, I feel also like it's an honor to have worked with you guys for this long, because finding a customer and having such a long-term relationship is very rare.
Yeah, sure.
But we've been able to achieve together some really wild things, like a lot of the setup of new business. I feel like it's solid, right?
Yeah, 100%.
It's like a tap, you can turn on and off, all that stuff. So it's really solid. That arm is great, and then once you put it into your business, you put it into this basket, which is the SPS brand. Gets the right call, arrives on time, does everything, and then you've worked on this existing customer base.
Yeah.
Well, give me your time. Your time spent. How much percent is spent mentally on new customers, and how much is spent on existing customers?
I would say 50-50.
Well done.
Yeah, honest. Really.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you put the same energy.
Oh, 100%, man. It's so important. I think it's more important. The new customers, I feel like because the new customers you can get, right? If you can retain your customer, number one, from a sales point of view, if you actually look at the figures, I don't know the percent, I think there's 70% or 80% more likely to buy for you a second time if you've done a job or something like that.
That's true.
If you've, the cost of acquisition, you're paying for it once as opposed to paying it for every single client. And if you can do a good job and they trust you enough to consistently call you each and every time something goes wrong, how powerful is that?
Enormous. But it's not easy.
I understand that. And that's why I focus in the last 3 or 4 years, we've niched down, I guess, into the client that we want to work with. I used to know, like I'll give you a classic example, right? You talk about numbers and you talk about clients and who you want to work with and stuff like that, right? About 4 or 5 years ago, I got offered 4,000 properties from a very, very large property maintenance company to look after their plumbing, right? And they look after 4,000 properties. So I would have had to put probably another 3 or 4 trucks on the road in an instant.
Wow.
To keep up with this work, right? But you look at their rates and what they were giving you, right? You would have had to work on turnover, smash your boys and make sure they complete 8 jobs a day, right? To try to make something at a very small margin, right? I'm now going away from servicing property maintenance. I'm going away from serving real estate agents who always haggle you on price. I'm going away from X, Y, and Z, and I'm only focusing on the things that I want to focus on, that I know that when Kenan calls me from a strata company or from a facilities management company or from a restaurant or a bar or somewhere that we can look after, and they need a service, but you're going to charge them fair enough rates where you're still making that profit, they're the type of people that I want to deal with. I don't want to go with that anymore. I don't need to deal with that anymore, right?
Almost like you're never, even if you go down that other track where it's the hard and fast and quick turnover and low margin, you can't give the SPS.
I was still giving them the service, but I wasn't making the money.
It's hard to maintain it.
Yeah, and so that's when you really start diving into your numbers. Really, you need to fall in love with your numbers. Like, now, like, you find a lot of people will check their bank statements every day. Yeah. How much times do you go into your P&L and check your P&L?
Good point.
Really, you should be looking at it daily, if not, every second day, or every third day maximum, right?
Understanding your numbers.
You need to have a good bookkeeper. You need to have a good accountant. You need to have, and if it's not working out, like, we set up, I'll give you an example. We set up a property, mate. We'll probably dive into that a little bit later. I know you're going to talk about that, but we knew that we were paying X amount of subcontractors a month to subcontract this stuff out when I now needed that I knew that this could be an opportunity for me to grow this company even further, right? Now we have that, and we're probably quadrupling that in the first, 2-3 months of it kicking off. And we're going to continue to grow that.
And it's a new division too.
100%. It complements what we're doing already. And we're going to.
But once again, that comes down to your foundation of your business.
But that also comes with its own challenges and headaches as well.
Yes, that's right. But you also you knew your numbers well enough to know to take that opportunity.
Yeah, 100%.
You minimized your risk.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you already knew the numbers, so you couldn't fail.
Nah.